What up, YouTube? It's Sammy. So I've been really bad at making my videos. I keep making them like 4 days late. So today I'm gonna actually make one somewhat on time. So this is like start of week 19 on testosterone. I actually have to cheat. I forget how many weeks I've been on testosterone, so I cheat by looking at my prior videos, so I can know which week I'm on. Anywho, I'm not in Olympia. I'm in Yakama, Washington, right now for the Students of Color Conference, which has been amazing. Way better than the Power of One conference, which I went to about 2 weeks ago. And it's been pretty awesome to be with other like students of color and whatnot. The only I don't know, there aren't very many queers here, and there aren't really many other like trans guys. I've met one who I've actually met at the Power of One conference. Other than that, yeah. Anywho, yeah, excellent conference. I got to see Trisha Rose speak, and she is a badass and has the most absolutely wonderful things to say. So if you ever get an opportunity to see her speak, I highly suggest you do. She talked mostly about hip hop and um, how it's become like this corporate. It's pretty much become a corporate pawn in perpetuating the cycle of like oppression within the people like the colored communities, especially the black and brown communities, and I really agree with it. But yeah, so Students Color Conference, awesome. I had the hardest time staying awake all day today, and I realized it was probably mainly because I ate way too much for breakfast and lunch. Um, yeah, and I ate way too much for dinner, but hey, free food. Who doesn't love free food? So, yeah, just loving it up. Um, Transition update. Same things. I think it's gonna be like the same stuff for a while. Like I said, my doctor upped my dose. And I've been slowly working my way up to 100 milligrams a week. This is the second week that I've done 80 milligrams. I still have to make my way up to 100. I might do 100 next week. I like doing it slowly because it doesn't make me feel crazy. I don't feel emotionally unstable, and yeah, I don't know. I don't feel super aggro. Some trans guys have that problem, um, but that might possibly have something to do with my personality because I'm just really laid back. I am really happy with my life. Yeah, and I just like I can't say that I'm like into like any kind of like religious organization, but I do feel like I try to follow like a spiritual like way of life, and I think that helps as well. So bottom line is I'm not a very angry person. I used to be, not so much anymore. I think a lot of that had to do with unresolved resentments as well as being addicted to drugs and alcohol. But I'm sober. I'm happy. Yeah. But had the most interesting experience. I always have interesting experiences when I'm around straight cisgendered people, and where I often get asked a lot of questions, and I'm really open to answering questions from people. I don't mind educating people around those kinds of things. A lot of people do mind. A lot of people get really upset, and I understand. Um, I understand why. For me, it's like it's not really that big of a deal. I actually enjoy educating people from like where I am in my experiences and whatnot. I think it has to do with the ego thing. um, but who knows? Who knows? I love my ego. It gets pretty big sometimes. And of course, there's always something that is gonna come along and pop it, keep me right sized. But yeah. Um, what else? Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Educating people is fun. Um, haven't showed anybody my cock this week. Um, well, that's not necessarily true, but that's an entirely different story. um, but yeah, it's really awesome. Throughout this conference, I've passed really well at this conference, and uh, somebody that I'm dating has told me that that I pass really well in general, and I don't see it because everybody knows me in Olympia, and people often use wrong pronouns with me, but I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they knew me as a girl, as female, and whatnot. But yeah, this person I've been dating, she has been like, "Oh, we need to get out of Olympia and like you'll pass," and I'm like, "No, no, no, no." But my experience here is that I actually have passed a lot, and which has made it a lot harder for me to navigate bathrooms, and so I just been going back to my hotel room to use the bathroom and whatnot, which kind of sucks. Um, but I think I need to start using men's restrooms, especially since my voice has changed so much. And when I'm binding, I am pretty muscular, and or at least I'd like to think so myself. But yeah, when I'm binding, I mean I look like I have pecs, and yeah. But I think I need to start getting comfortable using men's restrooms. I just don't. They're gross. Men's restrooms are really gross. Um, but yeah, it seems like something I'm gonna have to get used to using. I wish I could find a STP, a stand a P, or whatever it stands for. I wish I could find one in my color. It's really hard. I looked at what's the one website? Um, what is it? It's something like I don't think I have it saved anymore. It's like DJ knows dicks or something like that. I've checked on that site and they only have really pink STPs or really brown STPs, and I'm kind of like a in between color. I'm like I'm I don't know what necessarily you would consider me, but I'm like darker skin. I'm like in the middle. I'm like almost like a caramel color. So yeah, that's hard. I might go. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go cock shopping tomorrow night, which is gonna be awesome because I don't really have very many. I have a soft pack, and I have this kind of like novelty cock that has a spine that bends. Um, I used to own a lot of cocks, but my last long-term relationship, um, when we broke up and whatnot, and when I got out of prison, I just went through and like kind of tossed all the cocks that I had, which might not have been like the best idea, but that was where I was at. With things. So yeah, so now I gotta build up a cock collection again. And it's happening slowly. I've still have I've had a harness for like I don't even know, like 5 years or something like that. But what else? Yeah, it's really hard. When I went to the Power of One conference, we talked a lot about power and privilege and the intersections of it, and at that I really liked how like it was like a queer conference, and we talked about all these like intersections of power and privilege, which was really awesome. We didn't talk a lot about how we talked a lot about how the workshops I went to, how um like the power and privilege is how you identify yourself, but we didn't talk a lot about how you have power and privilege um based on how like the world sees you, because that's how it is, like based on how the world sees you is like kind of like the power and privilege you get, like when I start growing facial hair or whatnot, when I like start passing more as male, like I will get male privilege. I won't get cisgendered privilege, but I most definitely will get male privilege in a lot of different situations. um, the one thing about the Students of Color conference is that we haven't really talked about like we talk a lot about like race issues and like things like that, and like issues with being like people of color, but we don't talk about the intersections of power and privilege within our own communities. Like I mean, we do, but it's like we talk about like being a student of color. We talk a lot about like the issues of like of the intersections of like social status, like poverty and stuff like that. And I'm like, as people of color, I mean, that's what we talk about. That's what we talk about all the time. We talk about how like racism affects us and how poverty affects us, you know, because I mean it affects a lot most people of color. But I feel like it's like overplayed. Like yeah, we all like pretty much anybody, most like people of color are like educated to like the fact that those issues affect us, you know. So let's talk about some other things. Let's expand our ideas about these things. And it's hard because it's like, because I was like sharing that at my school when my school met to talk about that. I was like sharing that about how like I want to know more about this stuff. Like I've educated myself on all these various things, and I want to know more. And they're like, oh, that's like a 200 class, you know, it's like not a 101 class. And I'm like, well, I don't know. It just kind of sucked. It kind of sucked that like we're still like having to educate ourselves on like these like issues that like on like race and like poverty and like well like pretty much it's like 90% like people of color here. And I don't know, I think that we could definitely expand like what we talk about a little bit more. But yeah, otherwise it's been really good. I went to a few workshops that were really, I mean, like I said, I had a hard time staying awake for them. But overall, I've been up since like 7:38, 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I've been up. But yeah, overall, it's been a good conference. It's really hard because I am at this point in my life where I really want to talk a lot about like trans issues and trans stuff, and I really want to get active in the trans community because I've identified as being trans for so long, but I just haven't ever been in the community. Even now, I like don't necessarily feel comfortable in the community or know necessarily how to be in it, but I do my best to like educate myself on things and working to yeah. There's so much stuff that I want to talk about. Anywho, I will probably make a video sometime this week because I really want to talk about my life and like the things I've gone through with it. Especially, I've been incarcerated a lot, and I have a lot of really like wild experiences about just being a crazy youth and like the shit that I've done, and like being extradited from other states and like escaping extradition, like just like crazy shit that I've been through. But I want to make some videos on that because yeah, I don't really feel like that I'm that exciting, but I have really exciting stories that will probably wow you, and you guys might not believe me, and I don't really care if you guys believe me or not. It's my truth. So expect me to start making videos about those things. And yeah, so and expect my videos to get a little bit more political because I feel like that's kind of the place that I'm at in my life, and just being more, I don't want to be like too PC because I really feel like people, we should really be able to talk about things and like discuss things and not be afraid to offend people, because I think that's how we learn the best, is openly like saying things and then like being asked why do I feel that way, why do I have to say it, like why do I have to use certain words and whatnot. I think that's the best way that we learn, because then we actually have to think about our choices and like recognize that like words like have power too, words carry violence, you know. So just like thinking about like why we say certain things or why we act certain ways, and like coming to our own conclusions, because like really that's how people will learn the best, is like we come to our own conclusions on like what's right and wrong for us, and that's how it should be. We shouldn't have anybody telling us what we feel or how we think, you know, or what's wrong or what's right. We should figure those things out for ourselves, because when we do figure them out for ourselves, I feel like they last longer and they impact us more deeply. So yeah, I'm done with this video. I hope you guys are all having a good time, and I will see you guys soon. Alright, bye YouTube.